No one noticed the whispers at first because the house had always been quiet during the day.
Welcome to Tales by Bliss. This is an original story which was written, edited, and produced by Bliss. Enjoy.
It stood at the edge of Alero village, old but strong, with mud walls that had been patched so many times that no one remembered its original color. Children passed it on their way to the stream, women rested under its mango tree at noon, and men greeted its owner with respect. But when night came, when lamps were put out and doors were shut, the house began to breathe in a way that made the darkness feel alive. Soft sounds moved through its walls, not loud enough to be words, but clear enough to make anyone who slept inside turn in fear. On the night it truly began, Ada could not sleep. She lay on her mat, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the mud as the moonlight slipped through the small window. Her mother, Mama Kola, slept beside her, breathing slowly, unaware of the tightness in her chest. That was when Ada heard it. Her name, spoken gently, as if someone stood just outside her ear. She sat up at once, heart pounding, and listened. The whisper did not come again, but the silence that followed was heavier than noise. Ada told herself it was her imagination, the result of a long day of fetching wood fire and pounding yam. She lay back down and closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe slowly the way her grandmother had taught her. Yet sleep refused to come. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the distant cry of a night bird, felt closer than it should. Then the whispers returned, softer now, like someone speaking through cloth. They moved along the walls, sliding from one corner of the room to another, never staying in one place. Mama Kola stirred and turned, pulling her wrapper tighter around her body. Ada reached out and touched her arm, wanting to wake her, but fear held her hand in place. The whispers did not sound angry. They sounded sad, tired, as if they had been waiting for someone to listen. Ada squeezed her eyes shut and prayed silently until morning light finally chased the darkness away. When the rooster crowed, the house returned to its harmless self, as if nothing strange had happened. At breakfast, Ada watched her mother closely, searching her face for any sign that she too had heard the whispers. Mama Kola moved about the kitchen as usual, stirring pap and humming an old song under her breath. She did not look afraid. She did not look surprised. When Ada finally spoke, her voice was low and unsure. She asked if Mama Kola had slept well, if she had heard anything strange in the night. Mama Kola paused for just a moment, her spoon hovering over the pot, before answering that the night had been calm, too calm. Ada noticed how quickly she changed the topic, asking Ada to hurry so she would not be late for the market. That small pause planted a seed of worry in Ada's heart. It told her that the whispers were not new and that her mother knew more than she was willing to say. The house had belonged to their family for generations. Ada had heard that much many times, usually when elders spoke about land and inheritance. It was said that Ada's great-grandfather built it with his own hands, choosing that spot because the ground there was strong and dry. Over the years, people came and went, births were celebrated, deaths were mourned, and the house remained. No one ever spoke badly about it, but no one praised it either. It simply existed, watching village life from its quiet corner. That evening, as the sun dipped low and shadows stretched across the yard, Ada noticed something she had never paid attention to before. Marks covered the base of the walls, faint lines carved into the mud, half hidden by time and dust. They were not decorations, they looked like symbols, old and careful. When Ada touched one, a strange cold ran up her fingers and she pulled her hand away quickly. The house felt awake. That night, the whispers returned earlier. Ada was not even fully asleep when she heard them, clearer this time, closer. They did not call her name. Instead, they spoke in broken sentences, words she could not fully understand. She recognized only a few: Promise, forgotten, listen. Her heart beat so loudly she feared it would wake the whole village. She sat up slowly, her eyes scanning the dark room, half expecting to see a shadow standing near the door. Mama Kola was awake this time. Ada could tell by the way her breathing had changed. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Mama Kola sat up and whispered back into the darkness, her voice shaking as she asked the unseen presence to be patient. Ada's fear turned to confusion. Whatever lived in the house was not only whispering, it was answering. In the morning, Mama Kola finally spoke. Her eyes were red, and the lines on her face looked deeper than before. She told Ada that the house was old, older than most people knew, and that it carried stories that had never been properly settled. Long ago, a promise was made within those walls, a promise meant to protect the family and the village. But promises, she said, were like crops. If they were not tended, they rotted. Ada listened quietly as her mother explained that the whispers were reminders. They were voices of those who had been forgotten, people whose sacrifices had been accepted but never honored. Mama Kola admitted that she herself had tried to ignore them for years, hoping they would fade. Instead, they had grown louder, especially now that Ada was grown enough to hear them too. The village elders were called that afternoon. They sat under the mango tree, their faces serious as Mama Kola spoke. Some nodded slowly, others frowned, pretending they had never heard such things. One elder, Babatunde, cleared his throat and admitted that the house had always been different. He said it was known to remember more than it should. That was why no one ever asked to buy it or move into it, even when the family struggled. The elders warned Mama Kola to be careful. They said old matters were dangerous to reopen, that some doors were better left closed. But Ada noticed how none of them denied the whispers. Their fear told her the truth. Whatever the house wanted had been avoided for too long, and now it was demanding to be heard. That night, Ada made a decision. She would listen. Instead of covering her ears or hiding under her wrapper, she sat up upright on her mat and spoke into the darkness, asking what the house wanted. The whispers paused, as if surprised. Then they grew clearer, forming a single voice that spoke slowly, carefully, like someone choosing words after a long silence. The voice told a story of a young woman who once lived in the house, a woman who had been promised protection and honor in exchange for a sacrifice that saved the village from great harm. When peace returned, her name was buried, her story erased, and the promise broken. The house remembered her. The house whispered because it could not forget. Ada's chest tightened as she listened. The story felt heavy, but it also felt right, like a missing piece finally falling into place. The voice did not ask for revenge. It did not ask for fear. It asked for remembrance. It wanted the truth spoken aloud, the woman's name restored, her sacrifice acknowledged by those who benefited from it. When morning came, Ada shared everything with her mother. Mama Kola wept openly this time, admitting that the woman in the story was her own grandmother. She had been told never to speak of her, never to disturb the past. Silence, Mama Kola believed, was respect. Now she understood that silence was the true disrespect. The elders resisted at first. They said the past was the past, and that stirring it would bring shame. Ada stood before them, her voice steady despite her fear, and asked them what was more shameful, honoring a sacrifice or pretending it never happened. Her words hung in the air like smoke, and one by one, the elders lowered their eyes. They agreed to a gathering, not a ritual, not a ceremony of fear, but a simple night of truth-telling. The village would listen, and the story would finally be spoken. That evening, as lamps were lit and people gathered near the old house, the whispers softened, as if waiting. Mama Kola told the story slowly, her voice carrying across the quiet crowd. She spoke of her grandmother's courage, of the choice she made when no one else would, and of the promise that followed. As the story unfolded, faces in the crowd changed. Some looked ashamed, others surprised. Many looked thoughtful, as if remembering fragments they had never fully understood. Ada watched the house as the story was told. The walls seemed warmer in the lamplight, the shadows less sharp. When Mama Kola finished, a long silence followed. Then Babatunde stood and bowed his head, admitting that the village had enjoyed peace built on forgotten sacrifice. That night, the whispers did not come. Ada lay awake, listening to the normal sounds of night, feeling both relief and uncertainty. Had it been enough? Had they truly listened or merely heard? Just before sleep claimed her, a soft warmth spread through the room, like a gentle breath passing by. In the days that followed, people began to speak the woman's name openly. Children asked questions, elders answered honestly. The story became part of the village's memory again, no longer hidden or feared. The house stood quietly, watching, no longer restless. But peace, Ada learned, was not something that arrived all at once. Some villagers grumbled, saying old stories brought discomfort. Others avoided the house, still uneasy. Ada remained calm. She had learned that truth often unsettled before it healed. Each night she slept soundly, no whispers disturbing her rest.